Hi, so this is the final class reflection, story 5. I took this time to really answer the questions that were given to us in the reflection document and talk about them here, of course. So first, within the content of the course, I thought a lot about historical interpretation and how it seems that a lot of those interpretations are based on what the historian or the recorder is already familiar with, their culture, their history, their society. And as we saw in documents closer to the beginning of the semester from Europeans first trading with the Native Americans, the Europeans were often confused by their customs or tried to reorient the context of their actions, whether it was their own or the native peoples, and continuing to this problem and to the problem that I believe is intrinsic to this course is the fact that Native American history, as we've talked about a bit, isn't respected as much simply because it's an oral history and relies on collective memory instead of written documentation. So next, I talked about the mindset that I developed over the period of this course. I don't believe that my skills were shown very often. However, as we read through Voice of the Dawn, I did have a better understanding of Native culture, at least in regard to the Abenaki. But I still had trouble determining the other side of the arguments and issues that Wiseman brought up. Despite our studies into law and programs meant to help or even hinder the Native efforts, like the REACH program and the TRC trying to mend the damage of the boarding schools and child relocation programs, the reason for all this cruelty and disregard towards Native Americans always seemed to elude me. I think some of this confusion is shown in my journal entries and discussion questions, especially the ones that deal with more impactful events. This course has still given me a far better look into the matters of Native Americans that I wouldn't otherwise have, and put the actions of the American government into perspective. But I still have that degree of separation within understanding the reason behind it. And finally, talking about how this class fits into my broader education. As it may be obvious, my other history classes over the years have been far more European-centric. Middle school, high school, most of my history classes here have always relied on documentation, relied on dates, people, that kind of thing. And the controversies that came up were about things that weren't documented, but maybe were implied or could have still been plausible. This class was very different, likely due to the oral tradition as a method for recording information. But this also made the class a lot more ambiguous and discussion focused. We find a distinction between learning and remembering facts, like in history textbooks, as opposed to understanding concepts and perspectives found through interviews and narratives and restorative programs. And that's part of what I feel that our class was trying to do, develop that different kind of understanding, that different method of building knowledge. I think it was pretty effective, and combining the course readings with our discussions, it wasn't always helpful for me, but listening to those discussions did help me gain a broader sense of the different thoughts and ideas and controversies. I think I use controversies already, but that I could then like think further on and build more in my future as I go on to more history classes. Yeah. All right.